Hello. In this video, I'm going to discuss deferrals, which is one of the types of adjusting entries. And under deferrals, we have two methods. Number one, we have the liability method, and number two, we have the income method. And before I go to the adjusting entries pro forma, let me first give you the journal entry related to deferrals under both methods. So in the journal entry, most of the time, you will be debiting cash in both cases. So for liability method, you will debit cash, whatever amount. And then for income method, you will debit cash, whatever amount. The difference is in the credit. Because under the liability method, what you will be crediting here is a liability account. For example, unearned income. And then for the income method, what you will be crediting here is in the name, income. So, credit income. But income is actually general. It should be more specific. But anyways, this is the pro forma for the journal entry. Again, this is the journal entry, not the adjusting entry. So if you are doing liability method, you will credit liability. If you are doing income method, you will credit income. So I'll be writing a transaction and then we'll try to journalize it. So let's say you are given this kind of transaction on July 15. So you received 36,000 for 1-year subscription services. So this means that you receive money for future services that you will do. And you will do that starting today. And the bookkeeper here will credit in case A, a liability account, and on case B, an income account. Sometimes in problems, it will not tell you that the bookkeeper credited a liability account. Instead, it will tell you that you credited a real account. So it's the same. And then for the income account, they will say credited a nominal account. So that's also income. So what's your journal entry here? Again, this is journal entry. We are not in the adjusting yet. So here, if the bookkeeper credited a liability account, what's your entry? Your entry is debit cash, credit, unearned subscriptions, right? 36K. And then if it is an income account or a nominal account, what's your entry? Still, debit cash, credit, subscriptions revenue. Same amount, 36,000. So this is your journal entry. Now we will transition to the adjusting entry. And assuming that you are using calendar year, you will prepare the adjusting entry on December 31. So from July 15 down to December 31. Because December 31 is the time when you prepare the financial statements. So before the adjusting entry, how long will it take you to reach December 31 if you're starting from July? So let's move forward. To complete July, you need 0.5 months. And then August, September, October, November, December. So if you add that, it will take you 5.5 months. From July 15 to December 31. Again, on the left side, you have the liability method, and on the right side, you have the income method. So you will be adjusting this one and also this one. What's the problem with the first one? I mean, why do we need to update this entry? It's correct, right? I mean, the initial entry is correct. But what's the problem with it? Come December 31. The problem with this one is you don't have any revenue. Where's your revenue? I mean, on July 15, yes, you have the obligation to do service. But starting that day, up to December 31, you are already doing the service. And applying accrual basis, you should be recognizing revenue, right? So, the problem is, where's the revenue? You need to recognize that. And the revenue here specifically is for 5.5 months because it's already 5.5 months since you recorded this entry. Without a doubt, in the adjusting entry, you will recognize subscriptions revenue. And since you are earning, you get to reduce the obligation, right? You have unearned subscriptions, that's an obligation. But since you are already doing it, you get to reduce it. So, the debit here is unearned subscriptions. And this is the pro forma of the adjusting entry. Debit, unearned revenue, credit, revenue. You have to recognize the revenue for how many months? 5.5 months. Meaning, the credit to subscriptions revenue here should cover 5.5 months. Because that's the number of months earned, right? And if we try to write the number of months from your initial recording, how many months is this? This is 12 months. How come 12 months, sir? Because it's a 1-year subscription service and 1 year is 12 months. So what you did is, you started with 12 months, but since you already earned 5.5 months, you will reduce the obligation by 5.5 months. And this will justify why the amounts in the adjusting entry are the same. So let's compute. What's our amount here? The total subscription is 36,000, right? And this is good for 1 year. So divided by 12 to get the monthly. On a monthly basis, you are earning 3,000, right? And you will have to multiply this by 5.5 months to get your revenue for 5.5 months. So what's the answer? It's 16,500. Same amount. I'll just repeat, no? In the initial entry, you recognize a liability. What's the problem at year end? You don't have any revenue. You should have, right? Because you already did the service for 5.5 months. So, what you will do in the adjusting entry is recognize the revenue and then deduct the obligation because you already rendered the service. So, yeah, the answer here is placed here. Now, how about the income method? The one on the right. What's the problem here? The problem here is that you have too much revenue for this year. Why? Because the revenue you credited in the initial entry is already 12 months. But if you refer to our timeline, this year, you only rendered service for 5.5 months. But you recorded 12. So you have too much revenue, right? So in the adjusting entry, what will you do? Automatically, you will debit subscription revenue. I mean, the number of months covered here should only be 5.5 months because that is for this year. However, you recorded 12 months. So that's too much, right? So automatically, you will debit subscription revenue to reflect the reduction. And then for the credit here, you will credit unearned subscriptions. Why? This is for you to recognize your liability in the future. Since you recorded everything as revenue, where is now your obligation for the coming year or the coming years, depending on the problem? So, you wrote it as 12, right? But it should only be 5.5. So, you will reducing it by something. And that will be the number of months that you will debit in your subscriptions revenue. So you have 12, you want to make it 5.5. So what's this number? This is 6.5 because 12 minus 6.5 is 5.5. So you want to reduce this one by 6.5 months so that the amount of revenue that you will record this year would be 5.5 months. How about for the unearned subscriptions? Also 6.5 months. Why? Because after this year, you are still left with 6.5 months of revenue. So next year, you have 6.5 months of revenue. Because this year, you already used 5.5. Okay, so let's compute. Let's get again the monthly. revenue, 36K divided by 12, that's 3K times 6.5. Answer is 19,500. So that's the answer here. So that's how you do the adjusting entry for liability method and income method. But I still have some additional notes here, so do not leave yet. When you are preparing the adjusting entry for liability method and the income method, under the liability method, you are concerned with the earned portion. While under the income method, you are concerned with the unearned portion. This may sound useless, but this is really helpful, no? Sir, what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate on that? You are given 1 year subscription service, right? And that's 12 months. And this is divided into the two portions, the earned portion and the unearned portion. For the earned portion, we have 5 months, right? Because you did the service this year, so that's earned. So you have 5.5 months earned. And what's the difference between these two? It's 6.5, right? 6.5 months unearned. Okay, so here's the tip. Whenever you are preparing the adjusting entry for the liability method, you are concerned with the earned portion. This is why I multiplied my monthly revenue by 5.5. And if you are doing the income method, you are concerned with the unearned portion. That's why I multiplied the monthly revenue by 6.5, no? So, to repeat, whenever you are doing the adjusting entry for the liability method, you are concerned with the earned portion, what you earned this year. But if you are doing the income method, you are concerned with the unearned portion, meaning the number of months you have left after this year. But this is easy. What if in the problem you are given 3 years? So that's 36 months, right? And then, let's say you earn 7 months. 7 months earned. And then, so you have 29 months unearned. So if you're doing liability method, you get the monthly amount times 7. That's the amount, sure. For the pro forma of the debit credit, of course, you will just do the logic, no? I explained earlier. Do the logic, and then for the amount, 7 months. But if you are doing income method, so for the pro forma, you know it, the revenue is too much, so you will debit revenue in the adjusting entry. For the amount, just write the unearned portion. You will multiply the monthly accrual by 29. That's how you do it. If you don't get this one, make sure you get this, because this is actually the way for you to get into the answers. Now, another question. This is my journal entry, right, for liability. This is for the income method, and this is my adjusting entry, liability, income method. Question, are they the same? Answer, yes. Actually, let's do it here. Let's compute the amount of cash. Okay, so in your journal entry, you have 36,000. That's it, right? And then the left side, same amount. Cash is also 36,000. How about the unearned subscriptions? For the unearned subscription, here you have 36, right? 36K. But then you reduce it by 16.5. So minus 16.5K. What's the answer here? It's 19.5K. How about subscription revenue? It's 16.5K. Let's try it under the income method. How much is your unearned subscription? It's here, 19.5. How about subscriptions revenue? It's 36, okay, minus this one, 19.5k. Answer 16.5k. Same answer. So hopefully you get the logic. And this is my tip. Whenever you are doing adjusting entry, always think of the journal entry first because it will give you the logic on how the adjusting entry will look like. For example, under liability method, you recognize an obligation but you are lacking the revenue. So you recognize revenue. For the income method, you have too much revenue and you want to deduct it in the adjusting entry. That's how you do the pro forma. And then for the amount, for liability method, you are concerned with the earned portion, while in the income method, you are concerned with the unearned portion. So given that, let's try to answer some problems. Okay, so let's say you are given this data. On August 31, you receive 66,000 amount of advance rentals for 6 months. And the bookkeeper credited a real account. Then you are tasked to prepare the adjusting entry on December 31. Here's my suggestion if you are just starting with adjusting entry. Prepare first the journal entry. So prepare the journal entry on August 31. It says here that you receive 66,000. So debit cash 66,000. Now what's your credit? It says here that the bookkeeper credited a real account. So for the credit, it's either a liability or an income, right? But it says here that you are dealing with a real account. So here you will be using a liability. Specifically, unearned rent because we're referring to rentals here. So credit, unearned rent, same amount. This is your journal entry, not the adjusting entry. But this will guide you in the preparation of the adjusting entry. So now let's prepare the adjusting entry on December 31. What's the problem with the initial entry? You don't have the revenue yet, right? Where's my revenue for this rent? So you will know right away that here you will credit rent revenue. And since you are getting revenue, you get to decrease your unearned rent. Next question. The revenue is for how long? It's from August 31 to December 31. That's how many months? So for September, we have 1, October, November, and then December. So that's 4 months. Now, how much is the revenue for 4 months? If the total is 66,000 divided by 6, because the total is 6 months, how much is your revenue on a monthly basis? It's 11,000 times the number of months concerned. It's 4. September, October, November, December. That's 4 to get your revenue, 44,000. And this is your amount. And as I said earlier, if you are doing the adjusting entry for liability method, because this is a liability method, right? You are concerned with the earned portion. So you have 6, right? 6 months in total. How many months is earned this month? It's 4 months, right? And then for the months unearned, it's 2. What will you be using in the liability method? It's the earned portion, this one. That's why I use 4. That's another tip. Okay? So this is the answer. So if you are just a starter, it's okay to prepare the journal entry first before jumping to adjusting entry. So you know the logic of what's happening, no? Don't memorize. Never memorize because you will forget it. It's a waste of time. Now, let's have another, and this is the last one because the video is too long already. Now, let's try this one. August 1, receive 81,000 for medical fees to be rendered in the next 9 months. And the accountant credited income. So, this is income method right away. Then you are tasked to prepare the adjusting entry on December 31. So, my suggestion is to first prepare the journal entry. So, let's start August 1. You receive cash, so debit cash 81,000 And your credit here is, let's just write income, 81,000. This is your journal entry. And you are tasked to compute the adjusting entry on December 31 because your journal entry is still not updated. What's wrong with your initial entry? You credited income for 9 months. But if you count from August 1 to December 31, that's how many months? August, September, October, November, December. So this is only 5 months. This year, your income is actually just for 5 months. But you recorded 9. So you need to reduce it by 4, right? To make it 5. So in your adjusting entry, for sure, you will debit income. By how many months? If the income is actually for 5 months, you need to reduce 9 months by 4 months, right? And after rendering 5 months this year, next year, you still have an obligation for 4 months. So you will credit unearned income also for 4 months. How much is the amount for 4 months? So get your total, 81K, divided by the number of months. So per month, it's 9,000. You want to get the amount for 4 months? Answer is 36,000. So this is your answer. And as I said before, if you are doing income method adjusting entry, you are concerned with the unearned portion. So let's do that. Your total is 9 months, right? This year, you earned 5 months. Meaning, 4 months still unearned. And what did I say about income method? You are concerned with the unearned portion, this one. That's why this is what I use here. So that's another way for you to compute the amount. And that's it, no? And just a final tip. Sir, what if in the problem, the accountant or the bookkeeper did not mention what is credited in the journal entry? If the problem is silent, it did not mention, you will assume that it is a liability method. Okay? So that's it, no, for the deferrals. Hopefully, this is clear.